Was born from Fife. Woohoo!
It was a disaster. It kept flooding, but rather than let that stop them, they just, figured it out.
And I'm probably going to butcher this, but Beverwick.
Welcome to On the Sofa from our brand new Albany County, New York store, now open for business. Very excited to be here and welcoming lovers of tartan through the door. This evening we wanted to celebrate our new shop and delve into a bit of the story to explain how we got here today. I'm Emily and I've been part of the tartan team for almost 8 years now, and I'm delighted to be here in Albany bringing over 500 tartans with me from Scotland to share with you all.
Hi, I'm Stephen. I'm also originally from Scotland. I've lived over here in the capital region since 2019 after spending multiple summers at a summer camp over the border in Massachusetts, teaching everything from archery to rock climbing to hiking. When I saw that the Scottish company was opening up in the area, I couldn't quite believe it and thought it was kind of fate that it was opening here. I do have to ask, why the capital region?
Back in 2002, when Anna White set up ScotlandShop, among the first batches of orders, there were American ones. Despite the 20 to 25 million people of Scots descent living in the USA, and the passion that they all have for their heritage, this still came as a surprise. It certainly added an element of excitement and exoticism to a fledgling business only handling a few orders a day at the time. Anna's biggest thrill was definitely when a customer mentioned that they'd heard about us from a friend. So when word of mouth starts working overseas, it feels very good.
We get many a call to our home office in Duns about people asking if our headquarters really are in a paddock. While it's not quite a paddock, it is outside of, as I say, the small town of Duns. You'll find the headquarters for ScotlandShop, sometimes known in the company as Tartan Towers. Despite not being very towering, it's a little cottage, which is super cute.
So why a field? Anna set up ScotlandShop in 2002, and she actually used one of the bedrooms in the farm cottages just over the road from the granary that she went on to convert into what we now know as our headquarters. So it's her husband's family farm. It's been in the family for a long time, and some of the grains actually go into making whiskey. Very lucky to have that right on her doorstep.
The business was founded not only from a love of tartan fabric and Scottish culture, but also a desire to contribute to the development of the local rural economy in the Scottish borders. Combining the talents of the many fabulous designers and manufacturers we work with across Scotland, we are spoilt for choice with the beautiful fabrics woven right on our doorstep.
We certainly are. Over the years, we've built up a customer base all around the world, and the strongest region has always been here in America. So we can of course service these customers from our base in sunny Duns in the southeast of Scotland, and from our flagship store in Edinburgh, where you've probably seen most of our episodes. We love an adventure, so when you've got a good bank of customers looking for your product, why not move a little closer to them and offer an even more personal service? As you know, America is a huge place and we're just a wee Scottish company, so deciding where to plant our flag was quite the decision to make. So while Anna and I were bound to our desks in Scotland during all of the travel restrictions over the last few years, we used data and research and all those high-powered tools, but ultimately it came down to a feeling.
As a company, we wanted a location that had a story, a history of Scots and their travels across the Atlantic, generations of heritage and fond memories of a land left behind over the seas. Albany caught our imagination, with the city itself taking its name from the Duke of York's Scottish title, the Duke of Albany. Originating from Alba, which is the Gaelic for Scotland, we instantly started to hone in on the capital region as the base for ScotlandShop USA.
On discovering the region had its very own St Andrews societies, pipe bands, the Scottish game held annually in Altamont, deal was sealed and we began searching here for our new home.
To go on the history of it, in 1797, Albany became the official capital of New York State, largely because it was the furthest you could navigate on the Hudson. It was as north as you can go and still have river commerce and communications. The city is located on the west bank of the Hudson River, approximately 10 miles south of its confluence with the Mohawk River and approximately 135 miles north of New York City. The modern day Albany has a huge Empire State Plaza downtown with reflecting pools, an art-filled underground plaza shopping concourse, and the Egg, which is a very striking performance arts center, which has everything from musicians to comedians come and use for their performances. It's quite a difference, obviously, from our location of the headquarters in the sleepy town of Duns, which is steeped in thousands of years of history. However, the modern buildings of the plaza serve with a striking difference compared to the 1800s New York State Capitol and the New York State Museum, where you can discover natural and cultural history.
And I heard a story that apparently it was Scottish stonemasons that helped build the impressive staircase in the Capitol building too.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, we've always had some links here, it seems. Of course, it would have been the perfect address if we'd located ourselves in the town of New Scotland here in Albany County, where European settlers arrived in the mid-1600s, followed by immigrants from Holland, Scotland and England over the next 150 years. We couldn't find quite the right property there, so another location we could have gone to would be the small village of Scotia, which is the Latin translation of Scotland. Originally called Nova Scotia, not to be confused with Nova Scotia in Canada, this wee village on the Mohawk River in Schenectady County was settled by the Scotsman Alexander Lindsay Glen and his family in the 1650s. However, today it's said that only around 200 of the 7,000 local residents claim Scottish heritage. And the nearby town of Glenville is also named after Alexander, who was born from Fife, woohoo, that's where I'm from, and came to America via Holland to escape religious persecution.
Returning a bit to Albany, the city has its own St Andrew's Society, which was founded in 1803. There were 41 members present at the first meeting at the Tontine Coffee House in Albany, New York. The purpose of this society was originally to provide assistance to the wave of Scottish immigrants arriving in Albany, and the founders were Scots themselves who had already established themselves in the area and were positioned financially to assist other Scots who were not in such fortunate situations. Yeah. Times have obviously changed and the waves of Scottish immigrants are no longer at the same size. However, the Albany St Andrews Society is still a charitable and philanthropic organisation that distributes funds each year to not-for-profit organisations serving the needs of the residents in the Albany area.
And I have to say, for being a Scot who's moved over here, the society has been very welcoming to us. It is a male-only society, but they've still welcomed me through the doors, given me a tour and asked me to speak at one of their dinners. We're very thankful for them welcoming us here. In 1888, the society president at the time, Peter Kinnear, oversaw the commissioning and fabrication of a large monument for Robert Burns in Albany's Washington Park. So still here today. It's actually called the Mcpherson Legacy, and funding was provided for it in the will of Mary Mcpherson, a long-time Albany resident and native of Scotland, who named Mr Kinnear as the executor of her will. The monument, dedicated in August 30th, 1888, is said to be one of the finest Burns monuments in the world, and it's one of only two here in New York State.
The other one being in Central Park.
Central Park, exactly.
In 1928, the society purchased an elegant architect-designed townhouse that had been built in 1890 for James McKinney, owner of the Albany Architectural Iron Works and Foundry. The building was renovated for use by the society with renovation plans prepared by David Lithgow, a Glasgow-educated and trained artist, sculptor and muralist. David was a society member at the time who became society president in the 1930s. Mr. Lithgow designed the renovations in the image of an Edinburgh gentleman's club that he was familiar with. The rooms, as they are called by the members, are a celebration of Scottish history and culture, filled with museum quality art and artefacts. There is a library within the building with over 1,400 volumes, much devoted to Scottish history, all stored in a glass-stored wooden bookcases. The collection was made possible thanks to a grant from Andrew Carnegie at the beginning of the 20th century.
The society were lovely and gave Anne and I a tour, so it is very impressive and there's some great artefacts in there. Earlier we mentioned that Albany was named after the Duke of Albany, but who exactly was the Duke? The Duke of Albany is a peerage title that was occasionally bestowed on the younger sons of Scottish and later the British royal family, particularly in the houses of Stuart and Hanover. At birth, James Stuart was designated Duke of York, but it wasn't until his older brother Charles was restored to the English throne that James then became heir apparent, taking on the title of Duke of Albany.
So in 1664, James Stuart was granted a property colony of New Netherland in the US following its capture from the Dutch. This colony would today include the states of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Vermont, Delaware, Southeast Pennsylvania, as well as President, Maine, and parts of Massachusetts. The capital of New Netherland was New Amsterdam, and once captured, New Amsterdam's name was changed to what most people will know it as today as New York because of James' title, the Duke of York. This is also when our new American home city of Albany was renamed from, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but Beverwyck in honour of the Duke's Scottish title. James had the right to possess, control, and govern the colony as long as this was in line with the English laws. Despite never actually visiting the colony, he had elected governors, councils, and other officers to run the area on his behalf. The Shire of Yorkshire was the first large governmental unit, and like Yorkshire in England, it would be divided into 3 ridings: an East Riding, a West Riding, and a North Riding. New York's East Riding would today be modern Suffolk County. Its West Riding would be Staten Island, Brooklyn, and Elmhurst in Queens, while its North Riding would be the rest of modern-day Queens, Nassau County, Westchester County, the Bronx, and Manhattan. When James ascended to the throne from his brother Charles II in February of 1685 and became King James II, his personally owned colony became a royal province.
So as soon as we settled on Albany as our new US home, we knew that we had to design a tartan to represent groups such as the St Andrews Society and the wider Scottish community here within the county. The tartan, as Stephen is modelling for us today, is the Albany tartan, and that's our gift to the region, and we used it to celebrate the opening of our store, and really it's to help us highlight the strong Scottish heritage that we've been discussing found throughout all of Albany County. It's available here in our store and also online on our website too. Come in and have a look.
It's been very, very popular in the store here.
Yeah, exactly. One of our best sellers, so I'm very proud to have been involved in designing that. And we have to give Sean McGuire from the local town of Colony a shout out for helping us to get that approved by the county executive so that we could officially go ahead with the design. So the colours that we used for the design are taken from the Albany County seal, the town of Colony seal, and the city of Albany flag. And the set was inspired by that of the Stuart clan in honour of James Stuart, who we just mentioned, because of him and his connection to Clan Stuart. The only difference that you'll see in the tartan here is the base set of it looks very similar to the Stuart tartans. This white stripe here is something that we added in, and it's just a little subtle nod to the Scottish flag, the solitaire. So if you turn it like this and you've seen our national flag, the St Andrews Cross or solitaire, then you'll spot that too. I recently met up with Maeve McNamee from Discover Albany, who told me all about the City of Albany seal, which is found in the flag. So I'm here with Maeve at the Discover Albany Visitor Centre. So we were just looking at the inspiration behind the Albany tartan that we've created. So we've taken inspiration from the county seal, the city flag, and the town of Colony seal. So Maeve, can you tell me a bit more about the seal here?
Yeah, so all of the seals have very similar images, and because they have very similar history as well. So the one we have here, this is the city seal, but it is an updated version of the Albany city seal. This is the small version. This was kind of the prototype that Hy Rosen, who was a local artist when they were creating Tricentennial Park in downtown Albany, this was the prototype that he had, and he modernized it. So, and the idea is it's going to tell the story. So you see here, there is this very regal gentleman. He's got a lovely hat and whatnot. He's a Dutchman. He's a Dutch patroon. He's a Dutch businessman. And in the Albany seal, he's a farmer, right? He'd be a Dutch farmer. And Hy just thought, I think he really wanted to elevate that story of the Dutch as businessmen. So that's why he chose to put a Dutch patroon there. Here we have a Native American, which I believe the colony seal has imagery, Native American imagery within theirs as well. And this particular gentleman, Hy just felt that he wanted something that seemed more historically accurate. So this would be a Mohican man that you'll see here. The ship on top, that's going to represent a Dutch sloop or Henry Hudson's Half Moon. Some people think that the original one is more of a Dutch sloop, where this one might be more like Henry's Half Moon from 1609. But that's obviously how they traveled here when they came to the Hudson River, and the river is incredibly important to our story. It's, as we'll talk about, part of why Albany was chosen as the state capital. It's why we were settled, that access to the river was essential. The beaver that you see there, of course, the beaver pelts are one of the draws that brought the Dutch here. There was all kinds of different fur that was attractive that they could trade, and again, that's what's important about having the Dutchman and the Native American together and having those Native American symbols in the colony seal, is because, the Dutch needed that relationship with the Native Americans to be able to flourish. So there's the beaver pelt, which was what was especially desirable. And then the wheat, which is again our agriculture, and some of those agricultural elements are the colony seal as well. We have a motto etched below as assiduity, which is perseverance. You know, we always finish what we start. So the Dutch who settled here, they really were, you know, tenacious. They did run into hardships. For example, they actually first in 1614 settled Fort Nassau further down the river, and it was a disaster. It kept flooding, but rather than let that stop them, they just, you know, figured it out. They moved further upriver for Fort Orange, you know, so that was settled in 1624. So, and again, if you know anybody who is Dutch, if you are of Dutch culture, you know that, like, you know, I'm going to say the word stubborn, but it's a wonderful stubbornness. Yes. It's a real visionary of pushing through. And so they wanted to have that assiduity, that perseverance included in the seal.
Yeah, so the seal is part of the city flag that then also features the colours, which are very reminiscent of those Dutch colours, aren't they? So yeah, the blue, white and orange. So we've got that little section here in the tartan to kind of represent that. So yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing the story of the seal with us. Thank you.
You may have noticed that our new store is actually located on Loudon Road, just outside of Albany. While this name might not sound quite as Scottish as Albany, don't be so quick to imagine that we have not found a connection with it. To discover how it all started, let us first introduce you to John Campbell, the 4th Earl of Loudon. John Campbell was born in 1705 and is most well known as a historical Scottish nobleman and army officer. The year of his birth was significant as it was just 2 years before the creation of the Kingdom of Great Britain, which of course would have led to much turmoil between the British government and the future Jacobites. It's just so happened that John's father, Hugh Campbell, the 3rd Earl of Loudon, had an important role in the creation of Great Britain, and in 1731, when John inherited his father's estates and peerages, also becoming Lord Loudon, he also inherited his father's support of the government.
And it was in 1756, and although at the time the United States hadn't officially yet been formed, Loudon was sent to North America as Commander-in-Chief and Governor-General of the colony of Virginia. And this is where we see him start to establish himself here in the States. After he gained some clout, he moved over to New York during the 7 Years' War, eventually to the local suburb of Loudonville, and this road was then named after him. The area was originally a 19th century summer resort for some of Albany's wealthiest residents, and as such, Loudon Road is lined with several historic mansions and even a charming old schoolhouse building. So we're very pleased to have found that Scottish connection right here on this road.
And we're very lucky, and now obviously after all this information and history, we're actually going to show you the store. So
let's go and show them around. So welcome to the new store, come on in. So here we are. So shall we start by showing you the Albany tartan and everything that we were just discussing about that? So taking up pride of place here, very blue, and we managed to find one of our favourite Scottish designers, Gillian Kyle, her new collection when it came out. Just as we'd registered the tartan, matched perfectly, so we had to include some of her beautiful Highland cows and other Scottish animals in there too. And then we've got this, is our Iron Brew flavoured tea. So if you've ever tried Iron Brew, this smells so similar. I've not tried it yet, but I'm very excited to. It's a local family friend who owns that company. It's nice to keep it local. And then we've got our family of Albany tartan wearers over here. So if you want to be like them, come in and we can get you fitted for your very own Albany tartan outfit. So again, we're all about the family here, so we don't want to miss out the little ones. So we've got our flight jackets or bomber jackets as well. We picked the Mckenzie Tartans, as that is the tartan worn by the City of Albany Pipe Band. Of course, we couldn't miss out the Black Watch tartan, one of the most popular ones and best known there. So we've got that. Tartan scarves, we've tried to do it in as many clan tartans as we can. So come in and search for your very own one there. And then we've got all of our kilts here, so you can see all of the fabric that goes into the back of a kilt here as well. And then Isle of Skye, if you've ever been to Scotland, this has got to be on your to-do list. So we've got a little map of the island there, and then our beautiful cape coat inspired by Kate Middleton. And of course it's not just tartan that we do, so there's cashmere, all beautifully made in the Scottish borders, as well as lots of suits, so tailored items. So it's not just those kilts, guys, so if you're too scared to wear the kilt, go for some pants, vest or jacket as well. And then a nice springtime tartan is the Musselburgh one here, one of Stephen's favourites. And then everything for the home. So how many Highland cows can you spot here? That's your quiz, so leave a comment and let us know how many you spot. And then Stephen is going to show you through to the measuring area.
So around here we also have, as this is our measuring area, we have 2 fitting rooms. We have a wonderful couch which is super comfortable and customers always love sitting on as they're strolling through our different swatch books. We also have, you know, several mirrors. We have some more of our wonderful wallpaper in some frames on the wall there. We obviously have our customer toilets and some fountains, as well as some knickknacks that we found in the local area that were very similar to the aesthetic we were going for to try and replicate that Scottish feel over in the States.
Yeah, and then I'll bring you back through here. So this is one of the best features of the store, is our clan map. So everybody loves coming in and trying to find where their family were located. So you'll see our clan of the month this month has been Clan Mcpherson, but you could have your clan coming up next, so keep an eye out on that. And then, as you know, if you've been into our Edinburgh store, we have a tartan throne there in the Edinburgh tartan. So we couldn't not have a throne here, so we've got this one here in the Albany tartan too. So leading on from our throne, we also have what we've decided to call Cosy Corner, which is where you can come spend some time looking through all the swatch books. So the wallpaper, our Grand Thistle wallpaper, is from the company Timber Species. So we're very glad that we went for it. Love the colour scheme here. And then, like I say, we've got all our swatch books here, so you can have a flick through, see all of the tartans there. So come and spend some time searching for your clan tartan there. And we use this book to help us discover which last names are connected to different clans, so we're happy to help you with that. And then in addition to the swatch books, if you want to buy any swatches to take away with you, we've got the drawers here where you can go through, and like I say, we can find you your swatch and then you can take that away home with you as well. And one of my favourite products here is Doug the Tartan Dog. So we've got him in the American National Tartan, looking fabulous. And of course, we couldn't come to the States without bringing some tea and shortbread with us. So we've got some more tea from the Wee Tea Company, and then Shortbread House of Edinburgh. So we love the thistles on these matching with our wallpaper. And then finally, we've got our counter here. So you'll be able to see this. So you might spot another Highland cow. Again, remember to count how many Highland cows you saw and let us know in the comments. And then our clocks here, the different time zones for Duns, our headquarters, Edinburgh and Albany. We had a wonderful time 2 weeks ago when we hosted our grand opening and finally had the chance to officially welcome everyone in store. So during the day, we were delighted to be joined by members of the Schenectady Pipe Band, TikTok sensation Piper Alley, and our dear friend Marjorie from Shot of Scotch Highland Dancers. So in case you missed it, here are some highlights of the live stream of the day.
We were also lucky enough to hit the headlines locally, so here are some clips of our newfound international stardom, including our incredible movie star, Emily.
Oh yes, I know, an unexpected role for me. So yes, we've been lucky enough to make it onto News 10 and News 13, so we'll show you those clips now.
Well, a new shop in Albany County that specializes in Scottish goods opening its doors 1 week ago. And for them, St. Patrick's Day is about celebrating their Celtic cousins.
Cue the bagpipes. There's Cassie Hudson with them.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome. There are so many reasons why the Scottish business chose the Capital Region as the location for their first U.S. store. And it all starts with the area's rich history. From the land of cakes to the heart of the Capital Region, a new retail hub for high-end Scottish goods has touched down in Albany County.
So that's Scottish, Irish, Welsh.
From curtains to clothing, you can find more than 500 different types of tartan. Often mistaken for plaid, tartan is the design of the fabric's pattern.
So each family or area has its own specific pattern unique to it.
While kilts are traditionally associated with Scotland, they also have ties to Irish culture.
So I suppose a lot of people won't realise how much fabric goes into a kilt. So for the heaviest weight of kilt, that's 8 yards of fabric that goes into making that. So the pleats in the back of the kilt are very deep. It's a very traditional Scottish product, but like I say, all of the counties in Ireland have their own tartan too.
But really, they say kilts are for everyone.
You don't have to be Scottish to embrace the kilt.
The business was founded in a small community in Scotland in 2002. So of all places, why choose the Capital Region for their first US store? The area's rich history.
We discovered that the city of Albany is named after the Duke of Albany, and the Scottish Gaelic word is Alba, means Scotland.
They hope to encourage visitors to seek out their family history and become adorned in a piece of their own ancestral history. Although St. Patrick's Day is mostly associated with Irish culture, Scotland has close ties with the Emerald Island.
So yeah, really for us it's just celebrating our Celtic cousins over in Ireland.
And if you're not looking for a kilt this St. Patrick's Day, they say they're happy to answer any questions you may have about their home country.
Oh, what's on deck for tomorrow?
Well, I don't want to say save the best for last,
Okay.
but for Friday, we're going to introduce you to a 101-year-old woman named Freddie, who recently received a Lifetime Achievement Award for her dedication to the skiing industry as an instructor. She inspired so many men and women to follow in her skis, and
Awesome.
she's a firecracker, so get ready for that one.
Thank you so much for joining us here this evening to learn all about our new Albany store, and we look forward to you visiting us here in the near future.
Our regular opening hours are Tuesday to Saturday, and we're open from 10 a.m. in the morning till 6 p.m. at night. But if you'd like an appointment out with those times, please do not hesitate to contact us, and we will try to accommodate you in any way that we can.
Yeah, and to keep up to date with all the latest tartan news and interviews with members of the worldwide Scottish community, remember to subscribe so you don't miss any of those.